Well, what's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is the Librarians, Season 3, Episode 8, and the Eternal Question. And just based off of that title alone, I kind of felt like I was in for a treat, and I wasn't wrong. This was a really, really good episode, continuing along this vein of really good episodes this season that's really kind of shocked me with how good it's been. Not that the first two seasons weren't good, but they were kind of, like I've said before, they were kind of just goofy, kind of silly. Didn't really expect anything grand and epic, and this season has really given us something epic to watch. It's not only been less goofy, but also a bit more serious in the serious moments. So it's been really fun to watch. This episode in general was very good just because of a lot of the emotion that they managed to bring into this episode. It was really, really good. So, what's the main story for this one? Well, it all centers around Cassandra and her tumor, which apparently she's at the end of the timeline that she has. Apparently, she goes and talks to her doctor, and the doctor says this is it, and then she just sort of leaves without really confirming anything. And from there on out, it's just pretty much they meet vampires, and there's a question of is she going to be okay? They have to stop these vampires, and that's pretty much it. The only problem I do have with this episode is the romances they had in it with Cassandra, because I associated this to her pretty much being at death's door. She's almost there. All of a sudden, she asks Jenkins out on a date. I'm just like, Jenkins, really? Like, I understand she's kind of at death's door, so it's like last chance at love. But Jenkins? Like, I don't know. I figured she may go for Stone, but I wasn't expecting her to go for Jenkins. And then they get to the vampire place, and she starts talking to this woman, Estrella, I want to say was her name. But she's one of the vampires there, and they're kind of, at first they're just sort of talking, but as they start talking more, you see Cassandra's like, okay, well Jenkins has already turned me down, and it's like she's turning her focus onto this girl then, because she's really pretty, and she's like, in my mind I'm thinking she's thinking, what the hell, I'm almost dead, I'm gonna go for it. And so by the end of it, after she's been cured, after the tumor's been removed, I'm thinking, okay, so she's probably gonna, turn that down now because now she has more of her life to live. But then they still kind of add romance between them at the end. I'm like, wait, so was that not a last chance at, like, a fling or something? Was her thing with Jenkins not a last chance at a fling? Like, what was the point of all this if it wasn't trying to show that she was so scared about death, she was just jumping into this trying to have one last chance at romance before she died? If you're all of a sudden going to turn out to say, oh no, this was actually kind of a little bit of a romance. There was actually something between them. Like, okay, pick one of the two, because you can't have both. You can't have her jumping between Jenkins and this girl, and all of a sudden at the end have her, oh, she actually does like this girl. Pick one or the other. You can't choose both. That kind of sounds a lot more applicable than it means. Anyway, but yeah, that was the only real issue I had, just because it was kind of unfocused there as far as what the point of all of that was. But the rest of it was really good. Obviously, you have kind of a cliche story in Cassandra not telling them about the tumor, but at the same time, it does kind of make sense, because you don't want to say, hey, I'm about to die. I mean, hell, Flynn's not saying it either. He takes Eve out on this, I guess, their final date, kind of. I like the fact that he's still just trying to do as much as he can before he has to sacrifice himself. He's just trying to get in as much of that lost time as he can. And so he takes Eve out on this date to just go camping and hiking with her, all the stuff that she wants to do. And so you can see the comparison. He has to sacrifice himself to stop evil. He doesn't want to tell anybody about it, but he's trying to make the most of the time he has left. Whereas Cassandra, she is right at death's door with this tumor, but she doesn't want to tell anybody about it. And the difference is, instead of like making up for lost time like Flynn is, because he was so consumed with himself before, she almost kind of says, what the hell, let's go do this, guys. We're going to do this, because she knows she has so little time left. She just wants to do as much as she can. She hears about this place where people with terminal diseases are being cured. She's like, what the hell, I'm going to go try it. I don't care if they're being burst into flame. I'm going to go check it out and see if it's all good. So, I just like the parallels. I like the fact that they managed to tie her sickness into a very intriguing story with these vampires and the people who are going out into the world and being consumed by flames. So yeah, it was a really interesting story. Once again, the effects are incredible. That's something that I'm not used to saying about the Librarians. The first two seasons had pretty good effects, but for the most part, they did seem like they were CGI effects. This season, it seems a lot more realistic. The people catching on fire, all of that stuff, it's really well done. And even some of the vampire stuff where they're like flashing from point to point was really well done as well. So all of that was really interesting to see. Some of my favorite moments, first of all, is obviously the best moment in this entire episode. Ezekiel and Jacob are trapped by these vampires, and it looks like they're done for because there are like 10 of them and only 2 of them, and they managed to hold their own against 3. But as soon as several more come in, you're just like, okay, they're done for. But Jenkins is on his way because he was just talking to Cassandra's doctor. Well, once again, 2 episodes in a row, Jenkins enters like a badass. He just comes in, slices the head off of one of the vampires, who shrivels and burns, and he's just standing there with his sword, just like, it's on. And I'm just like, Jenkins! Because one of the things you forget is he was Lancelot, and they even play with that a bit, and that's my second favorite moment. Whenever he's talking to Cassandra, and Cassandra's asking him, why not me? What's wrong with me? He does mention the fact that he had a thing with Arthur's wife, like you've heard in the tales, if you have heard. If you haven't, in the tales, they say that Lancelot wanted to have, I can't remember her name right now for some reason, but the woman, Arthur's wife, he and her had a little bit of a romance going on, but because she was married to King Arthur, it was forbidden, obviously, and because he was Arthur's most trusted knight, he knew he couldn't do anything about it either, but he did love her, and despite the fact that he wasn't allowed to be with her, he still was very loyal to her, and so they reference that in this episode. I'm just like, that's really cool. You don't even have to say who it is. You don't have to mention the fact that, oh yeah, hey, he's Lancelot, and hey, this woman is King Arthur's wife. Let's spell it out for the entire audience. No, you get to figure it out for yourself. I like that. I thought they handled it very well. And the final scene to talk about is whenever she goes in for the treatment. I mean, that entire scene. First of all, the silence as you hear the music playing and you see everybody come in and they're all just sitting there staring worried. It's very few times, there are very few times in this show where they just sort of keep quiet and let the moment speak for itself. There's a lot of explaining. There are a lot of times whenever they have to talk about something because something has to be explained. It's all magic. There are jokes being made, stuff like that. This is the first time I can think of this season that we've had just a truly quiet, emotional moment. I thought it was very well done. Just the way that they managed to hold on that. Nobody was talking. There's soft music playing, and all you get to see is just their reactions. How they're all dealing with it. Some of them pacing, some of them just sitting there, just waiting, knowing that they can't do anything about it, that they're completely hopeless or helpless in this situation. So really good scene. And after she gets out of treatment, it was a little bit, I guess cliche is the best word, just how the doctor comes out and he's not answering the questions. It feels like the first thing he would say when he comes out is, she's fine, guys, she's alive, she's good. But no, he has to sit there for a second and be like, well, that was it. The surgery was intense. You're just like, is she alive? That should be the first words out of your mouth. But she does make it. Not sure if they had to cut her hair off because she was wearing kind of like a little turban type looking thing on her head. I guess we'll see if they had to shave her head to do the surgery, or if they managed to keep her hair on. I don't know. I can't imagine her without those flowing red locks. Sandra. Anyway, but after all this is said and done, she's trying to do her little thing where she opens up her mind and uses her mind as a visualization to do stuff, and she can't, and everybody comes in and they start talking to her, and she's just like, oh, I'm not the same, and then just as she starts to feel hopeless, all of a sudden it does pop up, and everything is flowing in her mind. You just see everything she's thinking of. But then I think probably the most interesting thing about all of this, besides the fact that this is all back into her mind even without the tumor, is that this woman is over there, one of the nurses is doing a Sudoku. She's like, I got this, and this number. And so you see she all of a sudden pulls the Sudoku board and she's like I guess, trying to figure out what numbers could possibly go where without seeing it. And then she figures out what the three numbers in the middle are. And then she, like, 367, and speaks it, and all of a sudden it flies over and goes into the woman's head as the woman figures it out. And you're just like, wait, did she just use telepathy? What? Since when is this possible? And so my theory in all of this, I think the tumor was actually holding back the power that she has. I think she actually has the ability to use magic. I mean, we saw her get a visit from the Lady of the Water from last season. So we know that they're choosing her for a reason. I think this is the reason. I think she actually has the ability to use magic, but the tumor was like holding her back and keeping her brain power from its full potential. And now that it's been removed, now she has the ability to do that. She has the ability to speak those numbers, the final three numbers, into this lady's mind. I'm like, that is cool. That's really freaking cool. And the way they animated it was just really awesome. So, I don't know. I'm curious to see how far this is going to go. I'm interested to see what they're going to do from here with her, because she's an interesting character. You know, they've done a good job really telling her story. I thought she had the best episode in the first season, whenever she had to go into the haunted house and talk about the fact that she faces death every day and just what that does to her. I thought that was her easily the best episode in the first season, but not only that, her best episode. You know, the first time we really got to get to know more about her. And they've done a good job with her since then. They've done a really good job of just portraying her as this kind of chipper, want to go everywhere, want to go do all of this stuff, but when it comes to her tumor, she always got really somber. And even in this episode, her performance is like completely different than it has been the rest of the season. And in the first season, when they had the haunted house one, her performance, similar to this one, was completely different. You know, where she's normally speaking like a high squeaky voice. In these two episodes, it's like she's actually talking normally. It's like she understands the seriousness of the situation. So instead of speaking in her normal chipper hyper tone, she's more down to earth. She's more serious about it. She's very solemn whenever she's speaking. I really like how they managed to do that. So yeah, it was a really good episode. Aside from the sudden romance with Jenkins and the vampire girl, the rest of it was really good. You know, I really enjoyed it. Even the Flynn and Eve stuff, which kind of it seems out of nowhere in context of the episode, but in truth, it just builds more on Flynn's story and the fact that he knows he's knocking on death's door right now because he's going to have to sacrifice himself. So I love what they did with this. I'm sad that it's only got 2 episodes left. I want there to be more, but who knows? Maybe they'll leave us with a to be continued and we'll get even more story next season. That'll be very interesting. But anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know. We can talk about, discuss, all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Librarians reviews. I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.